Hey guys, Sean here, and welcome to the F1 Word. Now we are only 3 races into the 2018 Formula One season, and already Max Verstappen has been involved in a number of incidents, the most recent of which came at last weekend's Chinese Grand Prix, where a late move by the Dutchman on Sebastian Vettel put them both into a spin and compromised their races. Add to that his contact with Lewis Hamilton and his qualifying crash in Bahrain, and people are already asking whether or not Max Verstappen needs to change his driving style, so in this video, I'm going to be giving my view and opinion on that. When it comes to the incident in Bahrain with Lewis Hamilton, I said at the time that I felt that was a racing incident, and nothing I've seen since has changed my mind on that. Both drivers could have avoided that contact, however didn't, and so it has to go down as just a racing incident. Was Max Verstappen overly aggressive? Not really in my mind. Yes, he could have left a bit more space and maybe didn't need to be as far wide as he was, but he was initially avoiding a slow McLaren, and so he was always going to be wider into that corner than perhaps he would be normally. And as we see with all modern day tracks, there was plenty of runoff area for Lewis Hamilton to turn into, so just a racing incident, nothing else to it. And staying in Bahrain, that spin and that crash in qualifying. Initially, Red Bull claimed that was down to a 150 brake horsepower surge, but have since changed their mind on that, with Christian Horner saying it was down to a number of things, including, and I quote, being up on the curb, pushing flat out, and oscillation with the foot. So essentially, it was Verstappen's mistake, but that's qualifying, that's a completely different thing. These drivers are flat out, they're supposed to be delivering the best laps they can to qualify as high as they can on the grid or to get out of each session. And yeah, okay, in that instance, he could have backed out of it and maybe not been quite as aggressive on a throttle over the curb, but then if he ends up dropping out in Q1, everyone's laughing at him anyway. It's qualifying, go for it, mistakes happen. So the question as to whether he needs to change or not was already been thrown around after Bahrain. So what happened in China has just magnified that, if you like, further. I mean, I'm not going to say too much more on the China incidents. I had my say during Sunday's livestream and again during the race review on Monday. But in short, Max Verstappen was 100% at fault for that incident. He was late, he locked up, he'd misread or misjudged the situation, and he hit Sebastian Vettel. Yes, there was a gap there, but only because Vettel was struggling to get his Ferrari turned in and was already well into the corner as well. The move came far too late, and there's no way at that point Sebastian Vettel is checking his mirrors. And at the end of the day, Max has taken full responsibility for the incident, so that is that. So do I think he needs to change his approach? Well, to be quite frank, no. Not in terms of his style of aggression. We want to see that in Formula 1. What is this fuss about aggressive drivers all of a sudden? It's only a couple of weeks ago people are slamming Valtteri Bottas for not being aggressive enough and making that move on Sebastian Vettel on the last lap. A week later and they're slamming Verstappen for being too aggressive. We want aggressive drivers in Formula 1. We don't want a procession of 20 cars who refuse to take a risk. That's not racing. You have to take a risk. There are going to be times when that risk pays off and then other times that it doesn't. And okay, Max Verstappen's had his fair share of accidents. You look at Grosjean in Monaco in 2015. Whichever way you lay the blame there was still aggression in there. Monza in 2017, Mexico in 2017, just to name a couple of the more recent ones. And of course, not all of those are his fault. Some are, but not all of them. Max Verstappen is a seriously talented driver, and when those moves come off, everybody is applauding him and going on and asking questions like, how many world championships are he going to win? Will he break this record? Will he break that record? But then when it goes wrong, they're slamming him and calling him the next Pastor Maldonado, which quite frankly is laughable. And yeah, I am defending his aggression. And probably based on the way the internet works, I'm going to get labelled as some sort of fanboy, but it's not that at all. And I get the memes linking him to the likes of Kvyat and to Maldonado, but let's not forget, Max Verstappen has actually shown some talent. Aside from his win in 2012, Maldonado never did, and Daniel Kvyat was far from one of the best. That's where there needs to be balance in this argument. What Max does need to do is to be more calculated and more balanced in how he uses his aggression. He should have won in China, and he threw that away, and I think he knows that he should have won in China. What cost him was a lack of patience. That move around the outside of Lewis Hamilton was never going to happen. And okay, Hamilton moves, and I understand why people are angry at that. But as I said on Monday, that's just a nothing incident. There's absolutely nothing in that for me, from either driver. But on the fresher tyres, he doesn't need to be taking that risk. Wait a couple of corners, wait for the hairpin, get up the inside of him, go off and win the race. The move on Vettel, you don't need to do that then. There's no need to take that gamble. Again, leave it 3 or 4 corners or even wait for the following lap. Look at how Daniel Ricciardo passed Sebastian Vettel out of the hairpin. Got a great run onto that long straight. Got him under DRS. Done and dusted. Max Verstappen wins. Probably Daniel Ricciardo second. And for me, it probably wouldn't hurt him to take a leaf out of Daniel Ricciardo's book. The Aussie is so aggressive on the brakes and so aggressive in the overtake. But all his moves are calculated. You can see that in how he does it. He does take risks, but he doesn't take unnecessary risks. And look at how that translates in terms of results for him. And that's what Max Verstappen needs to do. Look, these are split-second decisions. And it is so easy for me or for anybody watching this to sit there and say he should have done this and he should have done that. But he has to make a decision in that moment. He is still young, but this is his 4th year in Formula 1, so we can't keep using that as an excuse. And of course, as he matures and gains more experience, these things will come to him. That's inevitable. Look at Sebastian Vettel. Let's not forget, he was once labelled the crash kid during his early years in F1. There was huge criticism levelled at Lewis Hamilton for being far too aggressive. They've got 8 world championships between them. Drivers learn, drivers mature. It will come to him eventually. And although some of these incidents he gets involved in are reckless and unacceptable, we have seen some truly great F1 drivers over the years do a damn sight worse and get away with it. So this has to all be put into perspective. If it's the last lap of the season and you have to make an overtake to win the World Championship, then yes, send it. Because at that point, there's nothing to lose. But just 3 races into the season and with points dropped already, he just has to learn to be a bit more patient, as I've said multiple times in this video now. So in my opinion, no, he doesn't need to change his aggression. What he needs to do is just change how he delivers that on track. And as much as we all want to see aggressive moves and great overtakes and drivers taking that chance, taking the risk, what maybe Max needs to understand is that not every move has to be hero or zero. So they are just a few of my thoughts on Max Verstappen then. What do you think about his driving style, and do you think he really needs to change? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I will be back tomorrow with another video, but in the meantime, you can follow me on social media. Links to Facebook, Twitter, and to Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.